What do you get when you cross the entertaining as hell martial arts fight choreography of Jackie Chan films, the intense tournament fighting of Mortal Kombat, and the malicious father-son relationship of Prince Zuko and Firelord Ozai? You get Marvel's love letter to East Asian martial arts fantasy film starring Simu Liu, Awkwafina, Tony Leung Chao Wei, Michelle Yeoh, and Fala Chen. That's what you get. My name is Travis, and this is Planet Recap. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what you need to know before starting Marvel Studios' 25th film and 29th property. Whether this is the very first MCU property you've been introduced to, or you're just a casual viewer of the series and need a quick brushing up. I'm here to fill you in on everything that's come before. Let's begin. So I can't truly dissect the preludes of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings without first explaining one important matter, that being the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU. A collection of, so far, 28 cleverly woven interlinked properties that begin with Iron Man in 2008 and has journeyed through until What If in 2021. In the grand scheme of things, looking back at the 24 already established movies in the MCU, we see that there are 4 classes of Marvel Studios films: origin stories, sequels, spin-offs, and team-ups. Lately, it's been sequels, spin-offs, and team-ups galore, but it's been a minute since we've seen a true MCU origin story. Not since Captain Marvel in 2019, as a matter of fact. That being said, Shang-Chi is going to be one of those few MCU films that doesn't require a whole lot of backstory going in, but is sure to deliver on a few solid connections to films past. So if you're going into Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings with 2 nuggets of insight, let them be these: the Mandarin and the titular Ten Rings. First off, what are the Ten Rings? Well, from a Marvel Comics perspective, the Ten Rings were actual rings. Powerful alien technology that were found hidden away in a cave somewhere in China by a fellow who went by the identity of the Mandarin. These 10 rings gave the Mandarin 10 powerful abilities such as energy manipulation, incendiary blasts, and mental illusions. From an MCU perspective though, the 10 rings were the very same terrorist group that kidnapped Tony Stark all the way back in 2008's Iron Man. The terrorist group that forced the weapons manufacturer to build a powerful and deadly missile for their own agenda. Stark obviously went on to create something else entirely, but just like the invincible Iron Man though, the 10 rings were too introduced, albeit a bit more subtly. The 10 rings made a small cameo in 2015's Ant-Man in the form of a black market arms dealer purchasing weapons tech from that movie's respective baddie. The thug in question had a 10 rings tattoo ever so cleverly hidden on his neck, suggesting that the terrorist group were still actively seeking out deadly means of power. Marvel Studios has done a damn good job at hiding them in the background of a few movies up to this point, but the most front and center attention the Ten Rings has gotten so far has been in 2013's Iron Man 3, where we finally see the MCU version of the aforementioned Mandarin in the form of Sir Ben Kingsley. The Mandarin is portrayed as this ruthless and sinister and unpredictable warlord who shoots politicians in the face on live TV and turns soldiers into human bombs to blow up US cities. It's later revealed in that film that the Mandarin is actually a fake. He's simply a British actor named Trevor who had been hired to play the role of the Mandarin, basically a patsy puppet employed by the real film's villain from behind the scenes. Iron Man defeats the bad guys at the end of that film, the fake Mandarin actor goes to prison, and the enigmatic legend of the notorious Mandarin fades to farcical obscurity. Or does it? If one simply pops in a Thor the Dark World Blu-ray, they will find in the bonus features a 14-minute Marvel short film called All Hail the King. Now this one shot isn't available anywhere else, not even on Disney Plus like it should be, at least at this very moment. So in this Marvel one-shot, we get to see what prison life is like for Iron Man 3 phony Mandarin actor Trevor Slattery. Essentially, he's reached celebrity status amongst the other inmates for having pulled off such a convincing performance as one of the world's worst human beings. And by celebrity status, I mean he's basically living in a prison studio apartment, has his own bodyguard, and is also the main focus of a documentary starring himself, with a spotlight on his rise to glorified infamy. During Trevor's interview, the journalist begins to question his research into the role, calling out his inaccuracies and eventually shedding some light on the real Mandarin and the real Ten Rings. The journalist begins unraveling some very ancient-looking letters, papers, and images to show Trevor evidence that the legend of the Mandarin is actually well documented. To Trevor's astonishment, his interviewer further explains that the terrorist organization known as the Ten Rings are officially dormant, but are becoming more active. He goes on to describe the legend of the Mandarin, that he was a warrior king, who inspired generations of men throughout the Middle Ages. Trevor starts obliviously insulting this revelation by pointing out that it's not the reality of his Mandarin portrayal that will gain him the love of the world, but his brand. As the video camera starts shifting and internally reworking itself, the journalist threatens the ignorant actor with a promise that he will suffer a hole in his body for every ring of their faith. In that moment, the video camera spits a gun into his hands as he very quickly assassinates everyone in the room except for one. It's in these very quick few moments that we learn this so-called reporter is actually working for the true, legendary Mandarin. The deceitful journalist tells Trevor that he's only there to break him out so that he can meet someone. Trevor asks if he knows this person, as a cluster of explosions and chaotic shooting begin occurring outside his cell. The journalist tells the actor that he does not in fact know this person, but that Trevor took his name, and this person wants it back. So whether or not the oblivious Trevor and his fate have anything to do with going forward, what matters is the Mandarin is real, he is pissed, and he is not to be reckoned with. And that's the story so far, ladies and gentlemen. I'm more than happy to make these videos for the casual viewers, but to those casual viewers and non-watchers of the MCU, hear me out. Go check them out anyway. Almost all of them are on Disney+. It's a fantastic series of films and shows, and I promise that you'll connect and fall in love with at least one, if not all of them. For the condensed yet definitive Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings experience, I recommend checking out Iron Man, Iron Man 3, and the Marvel one-shot All Hail the King. Like I said, not on Disney+, exclusive to Thor the Dark World Blu-ray, or just Google it. All this said, please enjoy Marvel Studios' Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.